Some things in our world have always made us stop and wonder. How did humans move massive statues without modern tools? How can enormous stones slide across a desert as if alive? Or how do trees slowly walk over decades, leaving the ground strangely reshaped? For centuries, these mysteries baffled scientists, explorers, and locals alike. Some seemed like miracles of human skill, others like nature bending the rules. But in every case, careful observation, experimentation, and clever thinking revealed the truth. Prepare to have your mind blown by the unexpected ways the world really works. The walking trees. In some forests of Chile and New Zealand, trees seem to defy everything we know about plants. Over decades, they appear to slowly migrate across the forest floor, as if they are alive in a way we don't expect. Locals and scientists first thought it was a trick of perspective, or perhaps a fluke of soil and wind. But these walking trees are real, and their movement has a fascinating explanation. The secret lies in the tree's roots. These species grow new roots in the direction of sunlight, while the roots on the opposite side gradually die off. Bit by bit, the tree leans forward, and over years, it can inch across the forest, moving several meters from where it first sprouted. The process is incredibly slow, almost invisible to the casual observer, but it's consistent. This slow migration is not just a curiosity, it's a survival strategy. By moving toward areas with more light, the trees increase their chances of thriving, outpacing shade and competition. Nature's patience and ingenuity quietly turn something impossible into reality, making these walking trees one of the most extraordinary mysteries of our natural world. The Egyptian obelisks. For thousands of years, people have stared at Egypt's enormous obelisks and asked the same question. How did humans move and raise these massive stones without cranes or modern machines? Some obelisks weighed over 300 tons and were taller than many modern buildings. It seemed impossible that ancient workers could transport them across miles of desert and then lift them upright with only ropes, wooden tools, and sheer ingenuity. For centuries, this mystery fascinated historians and travelers alike. The process started at the quarry, where the obelisks were carved from single granite blocks. Once cut, the stone was carefully placed on a wooden sledge. Teams of workers dragged the sledge over sand, often wetting it to reduce friction so the heavy stone could slide more easily. Ropes tied around the obelisk allowed workers to pull in a coordinated way, while logs or rollers placed under the sledge helped guide the movement and prevent it from getting stuck. When the obelisk reached the site, the real challenge began, standing it upright. The Egyptians dug a sloped pit at the spot where the obelisk would stand. The base of the stone went into the bottom of the pit, and workers slowly tilted it forward using ropes and wooden levers. Sand or small rocks stacked behind the obelisk acted as a support, preventing it from falling backward. Bit by bit, the obelisk was leaned forward, and as the sand was gradually removed, it settled into a perfect vertical position. Finally, workers made small adjustments with ropes and levers to ensure the obelisk was straight and stable. This clever combination of sliding, tilting, and supporting allowed the Egyptians to move and raise stones weighing hundreds of tons, proving that planning, physics, and teamwork can make what seems impossible actually possible. Qanats, the underground water tunnels of Persia. Imagine living in a desert where rain is rare, rivers are almost non-existent, and the sun scorches the land every day. How would you get enough fresh water to survive? Thousands of years ago, Persian engineers solved this problem in a way that seems almost impossible. They built qanats, underground tunnels that delivered water across deserts using only gravity. Wait, can you imagine how humans or nature pulled this off? Some of these feats seem impossible, but the next ones will blow your mind even more. And hey, if you're loving these mind-blowing secrets so far, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, because the next few mysteries are going to be even harder to believe. The system started at mountain aquifers, where groundwater naturally rose. Engineers dug long, gently sloping tunnels so water could flow slowly and steadily for miles, sometimes traveling tens of kilometers. Along the tunnels, vertical shafts were dug at intervals. These shafts were used to remove soil during construction, ventilate the tunnels, and allow maintenance once the qanat was running. The tunnels were carefully designed so that water flowed naturally without pumps. Because the water stayed underground, it remained cool and didn't evaporate, even in the blazing desert heat. Villages, farms, and entire civilizations survived in some of the harshest deserts on Earth thanks to this simple but brilliant system. The genius of qanats lies in their elegant simplicity. With only gravity, careful angles, and hidden tunnels, ancient engineers transformed an impossible desert into a habitable and thriving land. A secret network of life flowing quietly beneath the surface. The sailing stones. In the heart of California's Death Valley, something strange has puzzled visitors for decades. Large rocks, some weighing hundreds of pounds, appear to move across the desert on their own, leaving long trails behind them in the sand. For years, people wondered if it was a trick, earthquakes, or even something supernatural. How could heavy stones slide across flat, dry ground with no wheels, animals, or people pushing them? The mystery was finally solved thanks to careful observation and science. The stones move under a very rare set of natural conditions. During winter, thin sheets of ice form beneath the rocks when water from rain or melting snow spreads across the desert floor. When the sun warms the ice, it begins to crack and break into floating panels. Even a light breeze can then push the rock slowly across the wet, soft surface. Over hours or days, the stones glide forward, leaving the long, straight trails that have fascinated scientists for decades. It's a perfect example of nature doing the impossible. What once seemed magical, huge stones moving on their own, is actually a quiet, slow dance of ice, water, and wind working together. These sailing stones remind us that sometimes the simplest natural forces can create the most incredible mysteries. Angkor Wat, the temple that controlled water. When you first see Angkor Wat, it's hard not to be amazed by its massive towers and intricate carvings. But the real mystery isn't just the architecture. It's how this enormous city survived in a swampy, flood-prone area over 1,000 years ago. Scientists and archaeologists wondered how thousands of people lived there without modern plumbing or pumps. The answer lies in water. Ancient engineers built a complex system of canals, reservoirs, and moats that controlled the flow of water across the city. During the rainy season, the canals prevented flooding, channeling excess water safely away from temples and homes. During the dry season, the reservoirs stored water, making sure the city had enough for drinking, bathing, and farming. It was like a giant hydraulic machine, hidden in plain sight, silently keeping the city alive. The design was precise. Canals were angled to let water flow naturally, moats doubled as storage and protection, and the entire network was carefully connected so no area ran dry. This system allowed Angkor Wat to support thousands of people and massive rice fields, turning a dangerous, swampy environment into a thriving civilization. Angkor Wat wasn't just a temple. It was a masterpiece of engineering, showing that ancient people solved enormous problems with clever thinking, long before modern technology existed. The statues that walked. For a long time, people around the world wondered how the huge stone statues on Easter Island were moved. Some believed powerful chiefs forced large groups of workers to drag them. Others thought only elites controlled the stone quarries. But scientists now know something surprising. The people of Rapa Nui did not drag the moai like heavy logs. They made the statues walk. Researchers studied almost 1,000 moai. They noticed the statues lean slightly forward and have curved bases. These were not mistakes. They were smart design choices. The forward lean shifts the weight, and the curved bottom lets the statue rock side to side. Once it starts moving, gravity helps it keep going. With ropes and good balance, the statue can be slowly walked forward, like guiding a giant stone child. To test this idea, scientists built a 4.35-ton replica. Real moai usually weighed around 13 tons, and some reached 80 tons. With just 18 people pulling ropes, the replica was moved about 300 feet in 40 minutes. This turned out to be faster and easier than dragging a statue across logs. The island's old roads also helped. They are about 14 feet wide and curve inward, which keeps the statue steady while it moves. The islanders likely cleared the road bit by bit, rocked the statue forward, then cleared more ground. Moving a moai was as much about shaping the road as moving the statue itself. No machines, no huge crowds. just teamwork, rhythm, and clever design. The Moai still had secrets. People knew they honored important leaders, but why were most of them along the coast? Scientists discovered the answer was water. Easter Island's volcanic soil soaks up rain quickly, and rivers were rare. Long ago, people survived by collecting groundwater that slowly surfaced near the shore. It mixed with seawater, but stayed fresh enough to drink. The Moai were built right at these life-saving spots. Most statues were carved from soft volcanic stone at a quarry inside an extinct volcano called Rano Raraku. After a 2023 wildfire damaged the site, scientists flew drones in 2024 and took over 22,000 photos, turning them into a detailed 3D model. It showed many workshops, likely run by small family groups of 20 to 50 people. Statues were carved lying on their backs, starting with the face, or carefully shaped in cliffs. Even more surprises came later, like a Moai found in a dried-up lakebed, hinting that hidden statues may still be waiting to be discovered. The stone spheres. Deep in the forests and fields of Costa Rica, hundreds of enormous stone spheres lie scattered across the land. Some are as small as a basketball, while others are over 8 feet wide and weigh several tons. What makes them remarkable is their perfect roundness. These stones look like giant marbles placed by hands far beyond our understanding. Scientists and historians have puzzled over them for decades. They were carved by an ancient civilization, likely the Dikis culture, between 500 and 1500 AD. But no one knows exactly why. Were they markers of sacred sites, symbols of power, or part of an astronomical system? Their arrangement and location suggest they were more than decorative. Some seem aligned with rivers or hills, hinting at ritual or practical purposes. Creating such perfectly round boulders without metal tools seems almost impossible. The stones were likely shaped using hammering techniques with other rocks, a slow and painstaking process. Moving the largest spheres must have required many people, ropes, and careful planning. Even today, these mysterious spheres continue to intrigue researchers and travelers, standing as silent witnesses to a civilization that vanished long ago, leaving behind one of the most puzzling and beautiful enigmas of the ancient world: the floating stones. For centuries, people swore they had seen giant stones float across rivers or lakes. Travelers and locals told tales of enormous rocks moving on water as if by magic. Some thought spirits carried them. Others said ancient giants were at work. But science tells a much stranger and clever story. These stones didn't actually float like a log or a cork. Instead, their secret was perfect balance and clever use of air pockets. Some rocks are naturally porous, full of tiny holes that trap air. When placed carefully in water, the trapped air reduces the stone's overall density just enough to keep it partially buoyant. It's not floating freely, it's sitting on the edge of floating and sinking, and a small nudge or current can push it along. Ancient builders noticed this. They used rivers and canals to move massive building stones that would have been impossible to drag over land. By lining the waterway and carefully tilting or rocking the stones, the partially buoyant stones could glide across the surface as if by magic. Some experiments today have recreated this. A single dense stone, balanced correctly and filled with trapped air pockets, can travel across a river with just a few people guiding it. What looked impossible for hundreds of years, floating a stone bigger than a person, is really just physics and observation applied perfectly. It's another example of how ancient people didn't rely on brute strength. They watched the world, experimented quietly, and found the trick hiding in plain sight. That floating stone wasn't magic. It was genius disguised as impossibility. Which of these mysteries blew your mind the most? Comment below and let us know. We'd love to hear your guesses before you knew the answers. And if you want to uncover even more unbelievable secrets of humans and nature, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video.